Good morning. How are you this wonderful Tuesday? This is Edna J. White, and you are with me on the ride in with Miss Edna. I wanted to talk to you today about relationships and how relationships change, and you need to navigate that relationship. Sometimes we think that relationships are only good for when they're good for them and they're for a lesson, which is absolutely true. But relationships are for us to master with the body. And I say with the body because the body reaches out, has sensations that mark the need for relationships. We may not understand sometimes why relationships end, why relationships are bad, why they come to a standstill, or just basically why they are quiet for some time. When we wonder those things, it's because we're not doing the proper things in order for that relationship to grow. And it begs for us to ask the questions that are so near and dear to us as to why the relationship is failing. I almost always reevaluate my relationships with everyone to make them stronger, because I feel spirit-wise that we are here for relationships. As a study of the Bible and of philosophy of the love that Jesus showed us, and I believe that just believing in Jesus is not enough, but actually being the example of what his life was portraying is very important. And relationships were monumental in his life here on earth. We may not believe that, but it really was relationships that we were supposed to master, not getting rid of people, not insulting people, just displaying that root element of love. So, you know that I am going to be releasing a new book called My Big Ask. And this book, to me, is a workbook that I thought I needed and others needed to ask themselves those very important rudimentary questions as to why something is not going the way it should be, why relationships are not going the way they should be, why my business is not going where it should be, why I'm not where I want to be mentally and physically. This workbook, this guide, will share those points, but I am talking to you today about relationship, which is one part of the work, the inner work that we must do. Whenever there is an issue with a relationship, we have to ask ourselves, what is it that I'm doing to contribute to the drift, to the change, to the demise of that relationship? What am I doing? What have I done? What am I responsible for? And a lot of times we don't do that. And I know in my experience with relationships, I've learned that when we get involved with relationships, no matter what type they are, we are responsible for the outcome, the complete outcome of that. We are responsible in the way that, how did it end? How did it begin? How was it solved? How it was resolved? We're responsible for that. So I want you to take a look at my blog today that I have written, and included this video in. And consider getting my book called The Big Ask. But I will also have up Love Zombie, which is basically about, not basically, is about relationships. And relationships are monumental to building and to learning how to love other people in their individuality. I talk about each individual being on a journey on their own selves, growing and learning, not going, but growing. Relationships change because they grow, and our reaction to that growth will show that what we're really feeling. So if we're standoffish, which I've been for some time with some people, but I've learned to step back, not to examine them, but to examine myself, which not many people take that stand to do. Relationships need to be evaluated on what we do and our intent with that relationship. And a lot of my long-term relationships have been reevaluated, and I've actually asked my friends, what is it that we like about each other? Why are we together? Why are we friends? Why are we talking? Why? And it's usually a commonality, where it be spirit, mental, or just a break in relationship. You know, the aspect of the pain of having a relationship. Most of the time, we don't evaluate ourselves. We end the relationship, and I'm not talking about abusive relationships. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about regular relationships, dealing with people, loving people where they are in their original selves. Most of us can't do that. And we've been taught to change when relationships change is to change relationships. We've been taught that, but we've never been able to, or taught to navigate that change. How do I navigate that my friend is changing and growing around me and I'm not going with he or she? How do I navigate that my boyfriend or girlfriend is obtaining some wisdom that I don't know about? How do I navigate that? Is he talking or is she talking to someone else besides me? Relationships, friendships are not singular. They're a plural. So where you're a friend to me in a certain way, you can be a friend to someone else differently. And we have to acknowledge that, embrace that, and know that, because it creates a sense of originality for us and a sense of place for us. I tend to think of people as trees, and trees grow. Sometimes trees die, sometimes trees bloom. They lean across the street, they lean and shade people that just come into their presence. So I have to realize that growth is very, very important, enlightening, and should be celebrated. I challenge you today to celebrate the changes in your relationships and acknowledge if you are being rubbed the wrong way about that person, which really comes down to jealousy. If we really analyze it, if we're being rubbed by that person and there's something you just don't like about them, there is something that is so familiar, and whether your intent is right about that. And I'm talking about friendships. I'm not talking about associates. I'm not talking about people you work with that, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about friendships sewn in, woven, close to, in the circle of friendships. Your friends are going to change, and you have to be able to navigate that. Check out my blog and tell me what you think. Leave your comments below. Thanks so much. This is Edna J. White signing off.